Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, we all know there is an ongoing investigation into all the deaths in care homes that may be, and it is only a may, it's only, speculation, have been caused by deliberate policy decisions by Nicola Strurgeon and Freeman. They may be looking at corporate manslaughter or corporate homicide charges as a result of these 5,500 deaths that could well be laid at their door as deliberate policy in order to effectively cull the elderly to try and push for independence. This is something that's ongoing. However, I feel there needs to be another investigation to an even bigger culling, a mass culling, through deliberate policy. Decisions may well have been made that this is the thing to do. Because when you are presented with facts that said, if you do this number of people will die, and you do it knowing that people will die, then you must be responsible for that decision, and you must be culpable for the deaths of people. And it is more deaths than the people who died in care homes. And it can only be through deliberate policy. Let's take a look. So the SNPs failure to fix A&E waiting times crisis means that thousands have died before their time. More people have died needlessly as a result of long A&E waiting times than have died from COVID-19 in Scottish care homes. And yet the situation is getting worse every year. They know this. They know people are dying in rates that are completely unacceptable. And they're doing nothing about it. They're cutting budgets in real terms. They're making conscious decisions that will make the situation worse while knowingly overseeing massive death rates on waiting lists. If they're making these decisions and knowing people are dying, and then wasting money on things that are not necessary, like foreign aid to Muslim countries, like foreign embassies, like glossy brochures, that is a crime against humanity, and they must be brought up on charges of corporate homicide. They are, by policy, causing the deaths, directly the deaths of human beings in order to push ideological beliefs. And still, SNP voters will vote for them. The numbers are stark and sobering. If you're looking for a cheerful read to brighten up the days between Christmas and New Year, it may be best to try elsewhere on the website. Every Tuesday, the latest SNP Health Secretary gets a political kicking from his opponents over the latest A&E emergency, waiting figures, which are invariably dire. And this is dire. And we've seen over the last few months how they've gradually got worse and worse. And now we've got the first figures for the first week of winter 2023-24. Each and every week, thousands of people are forced to wait more than 4 hours to be treated. The target for 95% to be seen within this time frame has not been met since May 2020. So over three and a half years since they last hit that target. And they've known for 3.5 years. And what have they done? Have they increased capacity? Have they increased doctors and nurses? Have they opened up more facilities? Have they done that? No. They've chosen not to. They've turned a blind eye. They've made deliberate decisions to spend the money and resources elsewhere, knowing this is a problem, and therefore deliberately adding to the misery, deliberately choosing to let people die, but still over that time producing nice glossy brochures. Indeed, the target has only been met on 31 occasions out of the 461 attempts, a weekly catalogue of failure going back to the early days of the Strurgeon administration in February 2015. But the weekly nature of this publication means the impact is diluted by sheer repetition. And unless you happen to be one of the poor sods forced to wait more than 4, 8 or even, God forbid, 12 hours in A&E, it is likely these stories will pass you by. We had the case recently of a woman getting to a hospital and having to sit not in A&E, but in the damn ambulance waiting to get into A&E for 18 hours. Of course, that's exactly what the cynical Nats and a number of countries in Public Health Scotland want. How about we look at it this way? Since 2015, since Strurgeon came to power, an estimated 5,438 people have died needlessly as a result of the lengthy waits in Scottish A&E departments. That's more than the total number of COVID deaths in Scottish care homes, which are now the focus of one of the biggest police investigations the country's ever had. More people dying in waiting lists than in COVID, knowingly. They have known this. They have decided to let them die. It is murder by ignoring them. The problem is getting worse, dramatically so, under the reckless stewardship of Michael Matheson, a man who's more concerned with whatever wank material they find on his iPad than actually doing his job, than Humza Yousaf, a man more concerned with his image than doing his job, Jean Freeman and Shona Robison, one, a woman more concerned with the culling of the old to try and get independence, and another woman who is rather stupid and doesn't know and understand anything that she's doing. A&E departments have been at the forefront of a slow motion collapse in the NHS in Scotland, and it's getting worse. And they still haven't given the NHS an above the line rise. In other words, a real term increase in funding this year. If you're an SNP voter and you've known people who have died on waiting lists, then you need to consider why you're voting for the SNP. And remember, these deaths are only the ones of people sitting in A&E. They're not all the ones that have, dying because they're having to wait 18 months to see a cancer doctor. They aren't the ones that are waiting 8 years to see a mental health professional. This is just the A&E figures. How bad is this? What decisions go through their mind that they think, yes, but they're only normal people. They're not us, the elites. If they die, it's a price worth paying, so long as we can still produce our nice, shiny, glossy brochures. Well, I hope when you're burying Granny, you throw in a nice glossy brochure, something for her to read as you send her down 6 foot under, because that's all there is. That's all you've got to show for your money. Granny's dead, but hey, you got a glossy brochure. And you're still going to vote SNP, aren't you? This year alone, an estimated 1,880 people have suffered an avoidable death as a result of the A&E crisis. A crisis that can be averted if only they weren't wanking the money away on all the other shit they don't need to wank it away on. A similar number of people are estimated to have lost their lives needlessly last year, and is likely to be even bigger next year as yet more places are culled, doctors' positions unfilled, especially now, of course, that they're taxing doctors even higher. So even more doctors are either not going to come to Scotland, or the ones here will retire early, do less overtime, or sod off to England. The grim mortality calculation is based on a reputable emergency medicine journal study from 2021, which concluded that there was one extra death for every 72 patients that spent 8 to 12 hours in the emergency department. Now, I'm not going to go through these individually. I will leave them on screen. You can pause and have a look. But just look at this sort of horrific growth of people waiting more than 8 hours over the years. It's consistent growth. That is the SNP for you. The same 1 in 72 ratio has been used by the Royal College of Emergency Medicine to calculate excess deaths linked to long A&E waiting times in England and Wales. And the RCEM suggests there has been 23,000 in 2022, showing that the situation is equally terrible south of the border. But before the SNP start pointing the finger, that is no consolation to the families of all those people who've lost their lives as a result of being forced to wait for hours in a Scottish emergency room. Yeah, the defence here to the SNP is, yes, lots of people have died in our hospitals, but look, they died in England hospitals too, which is what they're going to say. What goes on in England is immaterial. You just can't avoid the fact that people are dying in your hospitals by pointing the finger to England. You're the ones spending the money. £8 million a month on spin doctors. Millions a year on foreign embassies. Millions upon millions on running a Department of Independence, head by, Jamie Hebburn. And yet you can never even give independence. And most people in Scotland don't even want independence. But you know what most people in Scotland want? They want an NHS that works. They don't want Granny dying in a corridor because you wankers can't afford to pay for a doctor. That's what people want. But it's not what they're given, is it? What they're given is nice, glossy brochures. I'm coming up. What is truly sad is that there will be SNP voters out there who are watching children dying, grannies dying, sisters, wives, husbands, boyfriends, girlfriends. And they'll be sitting there in A&E and it'll be 12-hour in and they'll go and touch them and that person will be dead. And then they'll still go out and vote for the SNP. How stupid do you have to be? It's not something you blame on Westminster. It's not even something they'll sit there, yes, they're all dying, but, let's look how bad it is in England. England's got bugger all to do with it. Tell the people who are dying that, hey, at least, I know you're dead, but at least it's as bad in England. We could have done something. We could have made this better. We chose not to. We chose to spend money on all those other things that we could have spent on the NHS, that we could have spent on getting nurses into an emergency ward, that we could have spent on doctors. And we knew this was happening. And we knew we could fix it. But we chose not to. People are dying because we deliberately chose to let them die. That, dear friends, is the true nature of the SNP. Bit grim, isn't it? Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and for heaven's sake, stay out of hospital. Speak to you later. Bye.